Now, what happens if we change the word vibration for value? And instead of raising your vibration, you try to raise your value. Now, if you've been struggling with understanding vibration, it's a very intangible concept. And maybe that word has even put you off from some things. I'm a very spiritually rational person. So even I had problems, accepting the word vibration or understanding it when I first encountered it. And this is also partly makes sense if you're an 80s baby like me. Back in the day, the only 1-800 paid numbers were sex lines and psychics. So spirituality kind of had this, not great reputation. And this has certainly changed. And, science has continually opened up our mind and proven the value of energy and things in spirituality. But still, some people have problems with understanding vibration and how to raise their vibration. So I post this reframe to you. Let's focus on how to raise your value. Now, what we value inside is usually the situations and the value we attract. Now, this can be a really hard thing to accept because if you keep finding yourself in toxic relationships or in careers where you never get paid what you're worth, or you're constantly undermining your prices, or maybe in friendships where people are constantly offloading onto you or never giving you space or never listening. The hard thing to accept is that this usually means that we still find value in those things. That's why we keep putting ourselves in that situation. Now, of course, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And what that means is that you have such an internal low value that you see value in even low situations. It might be the minimal effort, and you'll find value in it because you have such minimal value inside of you. So when we really want to get out of these situations, we really need to raise our value. Now, I'm a self-activation coach and I use human design as the basis for my methodologies. And a very interesting thing in the human design chart shows us about value, and that's the heart chakra. Now, the heart chakra in human design is related to worth, self-esteem, and people who don't have this activated or defined, it means they don't actually have an internal validation or a natural value. They have to find it themselves and they have to build it up over their lifetime. So these people, their baseline behavior is constantly fluctuating self-esteem. Now, in human design, I have a completely open heart center, which means that I have even less consistency in my value. And it has been a life theme of mine where I have consistently found such low value in myself, or really struggled to value who I was and what I give. And this constantly led me into situations where I was overgiving, people pleasing, very in tune to what people thought about me, and very susceptible to external validation. So even the mere hint of someone's disapproval or someone's lack of validation would instantly devalue me again, because I just didn't have my own internal validation to stand or have that stability to reject what they were saying. Now, this is a very common theme among the population. And when you actually look at the human design statistics, it's a very high percentage, like 65% of the population actually have an undefined heart chakra center. Now, if this all doesn't make sense, I have a free human design school and a workshop so you can actually go and understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into that here. I'll put the link down in the description. But just to say that this is very common, so you might even really identify with this video. So I encourage you to listen to the end. So to talk about how this low value has played out in my own life, for example, this is things like, offering a price, for example, and before the person even reacts, I'm already offering a discount, or not even feeling worthy to put a price on my skills. Or for example, I was always a very gifted child. I played multiple instruments. I always graduated like #1 in my class, or things like this, right? I received so many awards throughout my life. I started an online business, back when I was like 26, when online businesses and digital nomads wasn't even a thing, right? All these steps I kept doing, which probably were highly skilled, I never saw my skills because I always devalued them. I always thought, oh, everybody can do this. Oh, that's not special. And people who have this low value, you can often spot it because when someone gives them a compliment, they'll come up with an excuse of why they don't have value or why that's not valuable, right? Oh, don't worry. Everyone does it, right? And so what's so important about this is that not only does our low value continually attract low value situations, but it's also really hard to stand into your purpose and, step into your gifted potential if you don't know how to value the very unique things that you do. Now, I have another video about how to find your success niche. So that goes through all the steps of what to look at, but it's very difficult to find even your success niche if you don't value the very unique things that you do. So it's really important that we look at how we can raise this value if you really want to get unstuck. If you want to attract better opportunities, you have to start putting a higher value on what you do and who you are and what you bring to things. Now, a story that I often tell is that I always wanted to be an author. And all my life, instead of being an author, I did every other writing job except for being an author. And I just assumed, well, of course you want to be an author because everyone wants to be an author because everybody can write. And I wasn't even valuing that. Even the reason I went into writing and created a whole career out of it was because I was really good at it. And I didn't acknowledge that people around me were not good at it. That's why they don't want to be an author. And as soon as I put value on just how unique my writing skills were, and even my passion for writing, these things are usually interconnected, but even my passion for writing was really an indication. It was unique. It was valuable. As soon as I started valuing that, it really helped me to step into that and use that more as a gift. Now, I remember this anecdote when I was younger, and I'm going to say anecdote because I did try to Google it and I couldn't find proof of it. But this story that was going around when I was a child was that there was this young boy, and he wasn't doing well at school, and he was constantly being devalued by his teachers, which of course we're in a very weird school system where children get marked, but he was constantly failing. He was becoming the naughty kid in class, becoming the clown kid in class, and his teacher says, "You'll never amount to anything." Now, this child in this anecdote went on to create road signs. And the story is that even no matter who you are or what you do or how you do something, there is always value in it. Even if it is just to simplify complex things into a language that can then become universal signage, right? So it's really important that we start looking at value and valuing the unique things that you do and then putting a higher value on them so you can start attracting higher value situations. So let's talk about this in the mode of a relationship, right? If you're a really caring and giving person, you need to put value on that. And you should try and attract people who are going to match your equal level of care and giving, right? So that every time you give, you also have someone giving back. Now, if you don't value the care and the nurture that you give, you will often be the one who becomes the people pleaser, right? Because you don't value it. So you're constantly giving it, right? But you're not valuing it enough to make sure that you're getting that high value of care and nurture back in return. Now in August, I'm launching the Self-Activation Academy, especially for these kind of activations, right? To help people step into their value and realize their value. And we do this through life coaching. Also in August, I'll be doing a 5-week course called Dysfunctional. And we really look at how these dysfunctional behaviors, and especially that fluctuating self-esteem or lack of value or that low internal validation, this is one of the most crucial dysfunctions that block our functional gifts. So if you're really even looking at trying to build a business or trying to get unstuck or trying to bring in higher abundance, this is really going to be a core element of your process. Now, often the hardest lesson to learn is that people who have low value have often been continually receiving the same kind of validation that they're low value because they keep attracting these low value vibes. And it can feel really unfair because the world is still telling you, well, yeah, this is what you deserve. And so it's really hard to break out of that mentality. So this is why I always say value must start inward. It's an inward outward process, and it can never be an outward inward process. So often we are waiting for somebody just to come along and give us that validation and say, yes, you can start a business. Yes, I believe you have gifted potential. Right? We want someone to come along and tell us to do that. And I'll be the first person to do that. I often say that really most of what happens in my one-on-one self-activation sessions is I just give people permission to do and believe in themselves. But the reality is that even if someone gives you that external validation, if you don't have it internally, you'll tend to reject it anyway. So the cycle continues. So it always must come inward, outward. So even if the world is continually giving you the same experience and keeps trying to put you down and keeps rejecting you, you have to start disconnecting from that and saying, okay, I need to start with my internal value first. And as you raise your internal value, you will start to see that what happens is you start saying no to these low vibration or low value situations, right? Because now you don't see value in them anymore. Right? You don't see value in those shreds of attention or the fact that just someone called you back for an interview, right? You don't have to clutch to these low values if you start to value higher things inside of yourself. Now, of course, as I always say, this is not a quick fix situation, which is why the Self-Activation Academy is an ongoing membership, right? You go in there, you join for as long as you need someone to hold your hand. But this is really just one of those kind of little truth bombs that you may need to drop today to realize that perhaps your low internal vibration or your low internal value is the very problem that you keep putting yourself in low value situations. So I hope that little reframe maybe helps you if you've been struggling with the raise your vibration phrase. Let's start with raising our value. And I would love to hear in the comments if you have experimented with this and if it worked for you. So please go and share your story because your story just might be the self-activation that somebody else needs to hear. And we all heal each other by sharing our stories. Now, if there's one thing that people know about me, I always say that I take a non-dicky approach to healing and leadership. I'm no better than anybody else out there who is sharing their story. We lead each other. And as much as my story can help you, your story can help me, and your story can help others. So make sure you comment and subscribe to keep getting my self-activation videos. And I hope to see you in the next video.